Welcome back to the channel. Today I am blessed to have the opportunity to guide you through the March 2021 SAT Calc section. Let's do it! Number 1. A sample of water was taken from each of 10 different locations in the pond. The pH of each sample was measured. The measurements are summarized in the frequency table shown. We've got a table. How many samples will have a pH of 7.4 or greater? Okay, we got 4, we got 3. That's right here. So that's D7. Okay, number 2. In 2015, the city of Miami had a population of 441,000 people in an area of 36 square miles. What was the population density of Miami in people per square mile in 2015? So we're just going to take 441,000 and divide it by 36. And let's see what that gets us. 441,000 divided by 36 equals 12,250. So B is the answer. Number 3. Okay, we've got like a box and whisker plot. I won't read through all of it, but let me just... Well, I'll read it to myself anyway. Okay. So the median in a box and whisker plot is the middle line within the box. So for the Roman Empire, the median would be right here. For the Greek one, it would be right here. So this tells us that G is bigger than R. So we're going to pick A as our answer. Okay, number 4. Yeah, A. Should definitely be A. Okay, cool. Number 4. The combustion of glucose releases energy. The ratio of grams of glucose combusted to kilocalories of energy released is 12 to 45. How many grams of glucose must be combusted to provide 85.5 kilocalories of energy? So looking at this, I'm pretty sure already that the answer should just be C. Because 85 is like a little less than double 45, so I would want to pick something that's a little less than double 12, so I would pick C. But if but let's say you had 2 close answer choices, what you might do instead is you might do 12 over 45 equals x over 85.5, and then just cross multiply it. So let's see, 85.5 times 12 divided by 45, and that does indeed get us to 22.8 C. Number 5. The function f is defined by f of x is equal to x squared minus 7. What is the value of f of 3? Just plug 3 in. F of 3 equals 3 squared minus 7. So f of 3 is equal to C, 2. Number 6. The probability of an unfair coin landing heads side up is 0.6. Student tosses this coin to the air 9 times. It landed on tails side 5 times. Head side 4 times. What's the probability that the coin will land on heads up on the 10th toss? Ooh, this one's tricky. The probability that is going to be heads on the 10th toss is 0.6. And the reason is because the other outcomes have no effect on what it's going to be in the 10th toss. This is called a hot hand fallacy in statistics. It's basically kind of like, what it means is that, if someone is, for example, is shooting like a free throws, and he shoots 9 in a row, that has no impact on whether he's going to get the 5th free throw in. So it doesn't matter how many times it landed on what. If they told us the probability that it lands on heads is 0.6 on any toss, it doesn't matter what the first 9 tosses were. On the 10th toss, the odds are still going to be 0.6. On the 11th toss, it's still going to be 0.6. No matter what, it's going to be 0.6. Number 7. Okay, we've got some charts here, a couple of histograms. Data B is the result of removing the outlier from data set A. So they basically just removed this outlier. And let's see, what is true about the means of data A and B? The means are the same, so the means definitely are not the same because we have an extra point in A, the outlier. If anything, we should expect that the mean of dataset A to be skewed a little bit higher up because you have a really high value at the top which skews the mean towards it, which basically is what B says. B says the mean of dataset A is greater, which it is because they've got that one extra really far up. If instead they were the same, but one of the data sets had that outlier, but it was on the other end, on the lower end, that would drag the entire mean downwards. So the answer to number 7 is a B. Number 8. Okay, we got some info here. Let's read through the info first. And they give us an equation. Now, anytime they give you an equation like this, d equals 60t, it could be any equation. It pretty much means you need to use it to solve one or more of the problems. In this case, we've got numbers 8 and 9. We can expect to have to use this equation for at least one of the problems. According to the model, what distance in miles had Amy driven 3 hours after she started driving? Yeah, perfect for the equation, right? D equals 60t, 3 hours. So D is equal to 60 times 3. So our answer is going to be 180 D. And number 9, what interval represents all values of t during which she drove to North Dakota? Well, let's see. It looks like North Dakota was from here to here. So it went from 120 all the way up to a total of, I guess this would be at the 480 mile mark. So basically, this is cool. Yeah, so this would be B between 2 and 8. And this is directly from this equation. Because at 120 miles from the equation, we know that that would have been a t of 2. Because when we plug in 2 for t, we're going to get 120. For 480 miles, at that point, t would be 8. So that means t is between 2 and 8. Number 10, we got a graph, some info. Between which 2 days was the growth rate in millions of cells per milliliter of water per day of the algae the greatest? The growth rate, anytime you see rate, it just means slope. So all that they're asking is where is the slope the greatest, or in other words, where is the slope the steepest, which looks like it'll be right here between 5 and 6. So our answer is going to be B. Okay, number 11. Let's see. A local restaurant gives teachers a 20% discount on all their meals. The teacher pays 14 bucks for a meal after the discount. What was the price of the meal before the discount? We just need to set up a very simple equation. And that is, let's see. So the teacher paid 14 after whatever they had to pay, which was X, was discounted by 20%. So when X was multiplied by 0.8, we got 14. The 0.8 comes from a discount of 20%, because, you know, if, let's for example say we had 100 discounted by 20% would have gotten us to 80. So percentage-wise, this works the same way for any number, basically. So now we just solve this equation. So let's see. So 14 divided by 0.8 gets us 17.5. So our answer is B. Woo! Number 12. Okay, we've got a frequency table here. Let's just read through it real quick. Random sample. Okay. Okay, so they told us that the bottles can only be sold if they contain at least 19.8 but no more than 20.2 fluid ounces. So we have to ignore this first one, this second one, and then this last one, and this second to last data point. So right here, there are, and how many cannot be sold? Cool. So the 20.4 and the 19.7 were 0, so those don't matter to us. But there was a frequency of 1 for 19.6 and a frequency of 1 for 20.3. So out of these 80 bottles that were sampled, 2 out of the 80 can't be sold. Now they asked us how many of the 16,000 actual bottles in the real world then cannot be sold. So the way we do this is we just take the 16,000 and we multiply it by that same ratio of 2/80. Because that ratio that's applicable in the sample will be applicable to the real world bottles. And just use the calculator to solve it. 16,000 times 2 divided by 80 gets us 400. Okay, yes. Number 13. Okay, we've got a table of values. Beautiful. It's a linear function. Beautiful. What is the y-intercept? Cool. Honestly, there's several ways that we can do this question. I'll show you one of them. A simple way that'll pretty much always work is just get an equation for these points. So we'll do y equals mx plus b. You could also use point slope form to figure this out, but I think that just as a formula that one's harder to remember, and this one's a really easy formula, so I'll just use this formula. And then just substitute some values in. Let's pick the first two because why not? So 14 equals -4 -4m. Oh, also let's actually, so we're gonna use this equation, but let's get the slope because we're gonna need to plug the slope in. So the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So the slope is gonna be, let's pick the first two values. Let's say 14 minus 8 over -4 minus -2. So this will give us 6 over -4 minus -2 is -4 plus 2, so -2. So the slope is going to be -3. Okay? And this kind of makes sense because as x goes up, y goes down. So it makes sense that we're going to have a negative slope. And now we can use the slope and a point to plug into the equation. Doesn't matter what point we use. Let's say we use 14 again. So 14 is equal to -3 times -4 plus b. 14 is equal to 12 plus b, which means that b equals 2. And if b equals 2, well, that's the y-intercept. So answer choice C is the y-intercept because the x value has to be 0 for the y-intercept. So C is going to be our answer. Yeah, dope. Okay, cool. Number 14. Okay, when a buffet restaurant charges $12 per meal, the number of meals it sells per day is 400. For each 50-cent increase to the price per meal, the number of meals sold that per day decreases by 10. What is the price per meal that results in the greatest dollars from meals each day? Probably you might be able to come up with an equation for this, but that probably wouldn't be the easiest way to solve it. I would, because you might mess with the equation. Honestly, probably the best way to solve it is just to try the answer choices out. So let's start with A, for example. but so by default it charges $12 per meal, and at that point sells 400 meals, right? So if we go to $16, that would have been a 50-cent increase, like 8 times, right? Because 12.50, 13, 13.50, 14, 14.50, 15, 15.50, 16. So we would do, let's see, price per meal. So if it's $16 per meal times, and let's see, so 8 times, so there's 400. So then we would do 400 minus 10 times 8. So it would be 16 times 320. Again, it was 10 times 8 because it decreases by 10 for each 50-cent increase. We had 8 50-cent increases, so we're going to decrease the 400 by 80. So this is going to get us, where's my calculator? 320 by 16 is 5120. That was a weird dollar sign I was trying to make. So 5120 for A. Now let's try B. For B, it's going to be 20 times. Now we went from 12 to 20, so that's 16 50-cent increases. So we're going to do 400 minus 160, so that's 240. So what? 20 times 240. Let's see what that gets us. 4,800. So in all honesty, I can basically already see the trend here. As the price per meal increases and the number of meals decreases, it looks like our the total sales in dollars looks to be decreasing already. If you want to, you could double check with the third one or the fourth answer, like with the third answer choice, but you'll just see that it keeps decreasing. And I can already tell that it is. So I'm just going to pick A as my answer, especially if I'm in a hurry. And then later, if I had time, just for like ease of mind, I might come back to it and then double check answer choices C and D. But from experience, I can already tell that this is what's going to be happening. Number 15. Let's see. What is the equation of the line of best fit? Okay, so let's see what the y-intercept is. The y-intercept looks like it's a little less than 4. So we're going to pick the answer choice with a y-intercept of a little less than 4, and with a positive slope because the line is going up. So A looks like it works. B does not work because B tells us the y-intercept is 1.3, which is not the case. It's like 3 point something. C has a negative slope, and D has the same issue as B. So for 15, we know the answer is going to be A. Okay, we're 16. 16, here we go. For the linear function, f of 2 equals 10, and the graph of y equals f of x in the xy plane has a slope of 3, which equation defines f? Well, it can't be A or B, because those have a slope of 2 instead of 3. And now just try out C and D, plug in 2, see which answer choice gives you 10. C does not. D does, because with D we're going to get 3 times 2 plus 4, which equals 10. So D is our answer. Number 17. If 7x plus 21 equals negative 2, what is the value of x plus 3? You can do this in a few ways. You can actually solve this for x and then just plug x in. But also, we can see that if we just divide the entire equation by 7, we're going to get x plus 3, right? Because 7x plus 21 equals negative 2. If we divide everything by 7, we're going to have x plus 3 equals negative 2 over 7. That's probably the easiest way. Again, though, you could just solve it for x and plug that value in. Great. Number 18. System of equations. We want to know what is the value of 3x plus y. Great. Just add the equations together. 3x plus y equals 15. So the answer to 18 is D. Cool. Number 19. An ad agency guarantees that its services will increase website traffic by 3.5% compared to each previous week. Which type of function best models the weekly guaranteed website traffic as the number of weeks increases? It keeps increasing it by 3.5% relative to the previous week. So, like, that's an exponential growth. Because percentages are pretty much always exponential growth because the actual number that it changes by keeps increasing or decreasing. So, well, in this case, increasing. So we know it's exponential and it's going up, so it's growth. So we're going to pick A. Number 20. We've got a scatter plot of 11 points. And we've got a lot of sun. There we go. Now we have less sun. We have a scatter plot of 11 points, line of best fit. Again, line of best fit. They're like obsessed with like stats and lines of best fit in this test for some reason. For how many data points is the... And my hair is just like falling down. For how many data points is the Y value predicted by the line of best fit greater than the actual Y value? So this is that basically asking us for how many of the points like are the points below the line. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. So our answer to 20 is A. 21. Dana is riding in a 100-mile bike race. We've got a function f of x equals 100 minus 18x, which represents how many miles she has left x hours after she starts the race. What is the best interpretation of f of 2 equals 64? So so f of 2 equals 64. Let me try to come up with it on my own. It means that after 2 hours, she's got 64 miles left. Okay, so I'm going to pick the answer choice that says that after 2 miles, she has 64 miles. After 2 hours, she has 64 miles left. That's not what A says. That's not what B says. That's not what C says. It is what D says, so D is my answer. Number 22. We got a couple. Okay, let's reduce a couple triangles. Okay, so which statement is sufficient to prove that the two triangles are congruent? Okay, let's see. Length of EF is 10. That doesn't tell us that they're congruent. I don't think. Because triangles are clearly similar, but that doesn't tell us if they're necessarily the same. So I would get rid of A. B, the measure of EDF is 97. Okay, well that tells us the remaining angle, but it doesn't tell us anything about the side, so we can't really draw any relationships there, so B is out. The length of BC is equal to the length of EF. So this is equal to this. That is enough. Because we know the angles are all the same. Because we know that angle A then has to be equivalent to angle D because the other angles are the same. So if that side is in the same ratio, or if the side is equal in each triangle, if the angles are also the same, that's enough to tell us that works. So C works. And D is just another angle thing, but we already know that just from the picture. So C is going to be our answer. 23. How many solutions does the equation absolute value of x plus 7 equals negative 4 have? 0. Super quick, 0. Why? Because absolute value cannot be negative. The absolute value cannot be negative. So if it's set equal to a negative number, we know there can't be any solutions. Number 24. The solutions to the quadratic equations are A and B. What is the value of A plus B? Yes, yes, yes. This question is so easy if you remember the shortcut. The shortcut for the sum of the solutions of any quadratic is equal to negative B over A, where this is A, this coefficient would be B, this one will be C. So this would just be -1/3, which is answer choice B. And the product would have been C over A. 25, we've got a nice shaded circle with a white square in the figure shown. Point O is the center of the circle. One vertex lies in the circle. The opposite vertex is point O. Okay, if the area of the shaded region is 36 pi minus 18, what is the perimeter of the square? Okay, so honestly, there's a bunch of ways we can do it. There's several ways we can do it. Let's try this one. The 36 pi, I think it pretty obviously represents the area of the circle, whereas the 18 represents the area of the square. Okay, so the 18 represents the area of the square. Cool. So, remember, the formula for the area of a square is area equals s squared. So, 18 is going to be equal to s squared, so each side is equal to the square root of 18. Now, looks like we need to put it into simplest radical form because we have answer choices that are in simplest radical form. So I'm going to do that. So s is equivalent to the square root of 9 times 2. So s is equal to 3 root 2. And that's one side. We need the perimeter of the whole square. So we're going to multiply this by 4. And that's going to give us 12 root 2. Now I think there's a couple of other ways that you could have done this. But I'm not going to worry about it because that was really easy. That was an easy way to do it. 26. Which of the following is equivalent to the expression x to the fourth minus 8x squared plus 16? So, if you know this is going to be really quick and easy. If you don't, it'll be a little time consuming. But there's a bunch of ways to do it. The easiest way is this. The easiest way is to recognize that actually conditions 1 and 2 are equal. They're the same. So if you know that they're the same, if you just expand one out, you can expand it out and test it against what's in the question. If you don't know it, this would be a little time consuming. A really easy way to do it otherwise, though, is to just plug a number in for x, and then use your calculator to figure it out. So let me show you. Let's say, I always avoid plugging in 0 and 1. But let's say we say x equals 3. If x equals 3, let's evaluate what x to the fourth minus 8x squared plus 16 would be. So literally just replace the x's with 3. 3 to the fourth minus 8 times 3 squared plus 16. I'm getting 25. So when I plug in 3, I get 25. So just see which answer choices give you 25 when you plug in 3. If we try out the first condition, replace the x's with 3. This will be 3 plus 2 squared, so that gets us 25. 3 minus 2 squared is 1, so that equals 25. So condition 1 works. Now try condition 2. That'll give us 9 minus 4 squared, so 5 squared, which equals 25. So condition 2 works. So we know the answer is going to be C. That very simple way. Anytime you have variables in the question as well as the answer choices, you can just plug in a value for x, get an answer, and then plug that same value into the answer choices and see what gives you the same answer. Number 27, each year the value of an investment increases by 2.5% of the previous year's value. The initial value of the investment was 500. Which equation gives the value of the investment y dollars x years after the initial investment was made? This one you might be able to just recognize. It should be B, because that 500 represents the initial investment, and then the 1.025 represents an increase of 2.5%. Because if you did like 1.25, that would be a 25% increase. You could always test values to try it out also. Like figure out what it's going to be like 1 year from now. Like, if you start with 500, 1 year from now it's going to be 2.5 bigger, so you're just going to multiply that by 1.025, and you get 512.5. And then just plug in 1 for the answer choices, and see which one gives you 512.5. Essentially, it's just like the previous question in terms of like you plug in a number and you test it out. Very, very similar anyway. Maybe not exactly the same. Number 28, how many solutions does the given system of equations have? When you are doing a question like this, you want to quickly test it. You want to do a few things. So most system of equations will usually have one solution, because most equations are just lines and they cross at one point, and that one point is the solution. Now, if one of the equations is just a multiple of the other equation, however, well, I mean, in that case, you have infinite solutions because they're actually just the same line. So let's see if that's the case. Is one equation simply a multiple of the other equation? Well, let's see. To go from 5x to negative 60x, we had to multiply by negative 12. To go from negative y to 12, we had to multiply by negative 12. To go from 9 to negative 108, we had to multiply by negative 12. This means that the whole second equation, is simply a multiple of the whole first equation, which means there are an infinite number of solutions. Number 29. Ooh, this problem looks like a hassle. Bridges have spaces between their sections to allow their expansion, contractions, temperature variation. I always say, we learned so much stuff from the SAT math section. The space is known as the gap width. Fun fact. Hopefully it'll be on a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire question one day. It's a linear function. Okay, for a certain bridge, the gap width is 2.875 inches at 40 and 1.875 inches at 100. Which of the following defines the relationship between temperature and gap width? This question is easier than I thought. All we have to do here is see for which answer choice do the numbers work. That's it. Here's what I mean. They told us that at 40 degrees Fahrenheit, it's going to be 2.875, right? That means when we plug in 40, we should get an answer of 2.2875. Let's just go one at a time. Let's try the first answer choice. This would give us, if we plug in 40, we're going to get negative 1 over 60 times 40 minus 40, which is 0, plus 2.875. So this one works for this one. Now we just got to try out the other answer choice. I'm sorry, not the other answer choice, the other number. I'm just going to draw an arrow for the same one. Negative 1 over 60. If we plug in 100, we're going to get, let's see, we're going to get 100 minus 60, which is 100 minus 40, which is 60, plus 2.875. This becomes negative 1 plus 2.875. We're left with 1.875. So this works, so we're done. So other things you could do, like you can see that as the inches decreases, the Fahrenheit temperature increases. So we know, for example, that C and D would not work. So we would because that tells us we have a negative slope. So we would automatically just try out A and B, and really only one of the answer choices would work. And clearly it's A. And number 30, the number of books in the library increased by 30% from 2002 to 2014. There were X books in the library in 2002. Which expression represents the number of books in the library in 2014 in terms of X? This seems like too easy for number 30. It should just be 1.3x. C. Okay. And then you could test numbers for this one too. Easy number for percents to test out is always 100. So like, let's say we had in 2002, we had 100 books. They told us that it increased by 30% by 2014. So in 2014, we would have 130 books, right? Because we just take 30% of 100 and tack it onto the 100, so we would have 130. So then we would simply see which answer choice gives us 130 when we plug in 100. And of course, that's answer C. Woo! Okay, let's see. 35 minutes in. We're making good time. Let's check out number 31. In a survey of 240 TV viewers, 3/5 indicated that they like comedies. Some said they don't. The rest did not respond. If one of the 240 responders is selected at random, the probability is 1/15 that the viewer did not respond. How many of the 240 viewers indicated that they do not like comedies? Okay. 1 out of 15 said they didn't respond. So that would mean, let's see, 1 divided by 15 times 240. So 16 did not respond. Out of the 240, 3/5 liked comedies. So that's going to give us 144 like them. 144 likes. So that gives us a total of 160, which were no response or likes. There were 240 in total. 240 minus 160 gives us 80. Number 32, what is the y-coordinate of the y-intercept of the graph of 3 to the x plus 9? A common mistake people will make is they'll treat this as a linear function. So they'll just pick 9. But remember, the y-intercept is the value of y when x equals 0. So we have to just plug 0 in. So y is equal to 3 to the 0 plus 9. 3 to the 0 is 1. Plus 9 is 10. So y equals 10. Conversely, like, you could also just graph it, but it's just simpler and easier in my opinion. Number 33, triangle ABC is similar to triangle DEF, where A corresponds to D. So basically this is equal to this, C is equal to F, so the triangles are similar. What is the value of the cosine of F? Okay, since the triangles are similar, the cosine of F is going to be the same thing as the cosine of C, because they're in the same position. And also all the sides, because the angles are the same, all the sides are going to be in the same ratios. So when you're doing the trig stuff, the ratio is important because you're going to get the same values for the ratios. It's just, you're going to have to reduce it. So cosine of C is, cosine is SOHCAHTOA, adjacent over hypotenuse. So cosine of C is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse, which is equivalent to 24/30. Now let's reduce that down. We can divide the top and bottom by 6. So this will be 24 divided by 6 is 4/5. So 4/5 should be our answer. Number 34. We have a little chart thing. What was the capacity in megawatts of the country that had the median capacity of the 9 countries? So we just got to put them in order from least to greatest and pick the one that was in the middle. We have, how many countries? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 5th largest or 5th smallest, whatever it is. So we've got El Salvador is the smallest. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Italy is the 5th. The number is 863. So that is our answer. Number 35. We have a point here. Okay. What is the value of C? So C is just the y value that we're going to get when x equals 2. So that's going to be like right over here. Now, that looks a lot like 2.5. And you're going to be very tempted to say 2.5. But the issue is it might be like 2.45, like 2.55 or something like stupid like that. So we need to actually get a more mathematical, I guess, approach to doing this. So we are going to need to get the equation of the line and then actually plug in the point 2 for x, and then see what the y value is going to be. Yeah. So let's get the equation of the line. Y equals mx plus b. So let's see. Well, we know the slope, because if we take this point and this point, we went down by 4 and over 5. So the slope is negative 4 over 5. We also know that the b value is 4, because that's just the y-intercept. So our equation of this line is y equals negative 4/5 x plus 4. And now we plug in the 2. So c equals negative 4/5 times 2 plus 4. So c is equal to negative 8 over 5 plus 4. We could stick this into the calculator. That'll probably just be the simplest. So negative 8 over 5 plus 4 is equal to 2.4. There we go. And yeah, so right, like it's like really close to 2.5, but it's not quite 2.5. So that's why you can just pick it. Dope. Okie dokes. Number 36. Okay, almost done. 36. Based on the table, what is the typical minimum weight of an adult African elephant in the wild in pounds? And we have a whole chart thing. Okay. Typical minimum weight of an adult elephant. So that's this. 2.5. So we're just going to multiply 2,000 pounds by 2.5, which is 5,000. Boom. Number 37. Based on the table, the typical lifespan of the African elephant in the wild is p% greater than the typical lifespan of the Asian elephant in the wild. What is your value of p? So, okay. Let's see what the lifespan of them is. The lifespan of an elephant is 70. The lifespan of an Asian elephant is 60. What is the value of p? Okay, so we're going from 60 to 70. So we're just doing a percent change. So let's see, new minus original. So the percent change formula is new minus original over original. So this is going to be 70 minus 60 over 60. So this will be 10 over 60. So you could leave your answer as 1/6. You could leave as 1/6 or 16.6 or 16.7. Any of those are okay. There's other ways you could have also kind of done this question. This is the most formal way. Like, but you could have known just like, okay, yeah, clearly it's like went up by 10, 10 over 60. Like, yeah. Cool. And last question. Man, we breezed this like 43 minutes. Great. Christ's sake, another like, what is the... I feel like every other question on this test has been like, what is the y-intercept or what is the p-value? Whatever. 38, we got a table. The table shows several values of x and their corresponding values of f of x. The function f is defined by f of x is equal to mx plus b. M and b are constants. What is the value of b? So just what is the y-intercept? There's a bunch of ways to do it. Again, we could get the equation, but also... So the y-intercept is just where x equals 0. So we could just like see how much it keeps decreasing by. And so like from 4 to 3, right? It went from 196 to 151. So it went down by 45. So it keeps going down by 45. So that means when x equals 1, let me make a table first. So when x equals 1, it's going to go down by 45 again. So 106 minus 45 is 61. When x equals 0, it's going to go down by 45 again. 61 minus 45 is 16. So our answer is 16. Otherwise, we could have actually gotten another equation of a line, kind of like we did with one or two other previous questions, and just plug the point in and see what the y-intercept would have been. Either way is okay. Okay. That's it. We done! That's it. If you liked the video, please smash the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share with your friends. And please leave a comment, let me know what you would like me to cover, and I will see you next time.